without a shadow of a doubt that you're created on purpose for a purpose. Mindset and money revolution. You have to have a mindset revolution to experience a money revolution. That's when you experience a true wealth revolution.
My name is Chad Free. Welcome to the Wealth Revolution Podcast. Welcome back to the Wealth Revolution Podcast. This is Chad Free coming to you just outside of Greenville, South Carolina. And I'm glad to be on here today. I am super stoked to just pour into people, make an impact. People come here and they want to hear what we got to say. And number one, we just want to make a difference. We want to be different. And we want to be bold in our difference because I believe everybody's created on purpose for a purpose. And today is a special day because I have a special guest. And that's another reason that I'm super excited because he is one also that, he might be in your circle, but it's okay to have this guy in your corner too. Matter of fact, it's people like him that you want in your corner. That's why I'm excited about having him on. So let me tell you a little bit about Roshun Jones. Roshun is a dedicated mindset coach who helps Christian entrepreneurs live boldly in their God-given purpose. With certifications as a Master Hypnotherapist, Master NLP Practitioner, an NLP Trainer, and high-performance coach, Roshun specializes in uncovering unconscious patterns that prevent people from embracing their true identity. Additionally, he holds a master's degree in computer science with an emphasis on data science, combining analytical depth with a strong foundation in transformational coaching. He also enjoys different pursuits such as biking, hiking, salsa dancing, we're going to talk about that, traveling, and deepening his understanding of the Bible. So let's all welcome Mr. Roshun Jones to the Wealth Revolution Podcast. What's up, Ro?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good.
So you're reading that bio. I was like, man, who is this dude? I got to meet him.
That's right. Now you see why I'm excited to have you on my podcast. I mean, exciting. So I met Ro a couple of years ago, right? Out in California. So number one, that was the first time I ever been to California and ended up going out there to speak. And I want to tell you what really stuck out to me. Ro, and I call him Ro. Don't call him Ro unless you in his circle, okay? Let me just tell you that first. No, I'm just kidding. He's laughing.
I've gotten lax about it.
Ro actually was one of my biggest cheerleaders or biggest encourager throughout that whole process. When he saw me kind of, my palms sweating, my knees were wobbling and all that good stuff. I'm not going to start rapping for you, but he would slide over there to me and literally, man, he just always giving a good word of encouragement. And you don't find that. You just don't find that's not common because we just met. And sure, we had a small rapport. We found that we had a very similar foundation, but Ro is just one of a few. Matter of fact, he's one of one. And that's what I want you to hear today because we're going to talk about mindset and transformation. And his story truly is an inspiration to me. And I'm sure that it's going to be an inspiration to you because we talk a lot about breakdowns, but sometimes the breakdowns have to happen in order for the breakthroughs to happen. So let's just talk about this, Ro. Let's talk about transformation, mindset. And man, I'd love for you just to tell me, give the audience an idea of, where you're calling from, kind of a little bit of your background, and then let's start getting into the good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for that those kind words, Chad. Chad and I have this thing, I'm a fanboy. And so every time it's like, oh my God, it's chat free. And I have to say that I'm really proud of you, brother, for you to do the things that you've done over the last several years, and that I'm honored to be here on your podcast today,
Mm.
because I've seen the growth over the years, and I know that God has had His hands on you, and He has a purpose for you, and you just been living it out every single day.
Man, thank you.
So super proud of you. As far as I love how you said, you have to have your breakdown before your breakthrough.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people they don't take that into consideration at times. Well, a lot of times they get into their breakdown and they think like that's it, and they get stuck in that breakdown. So where I'm at, I'm in cold Seattle, Washington right now. It's 41 degrees,
Oh wow.
and I've been here since 1997,
Oh wow.
and I've been trying to get out of here ever since.
It ain't nothing but a short walk, Ro.
Hey, hey, it's cold though. It rains. It's like I'm looking at the weather thing now. It's like it's gonna start raining again. It's like if there's one thing that you know about Washington is it's gonna rain.
Yep.
But yeah, it's so I as far as like my story, moved here in '97 with my mom. Grew up in California, Los Angeles, California, and moved here in '97. And I think that's really when the depression hit for me, because I said it rains all the time here, and I wasn't used to it. I'm used to the sun all the time, and a lot of people here they deal with seasonal depression,
Hmm.
and so I had no clue what depression was. I just felt a weird feeling, and then all of a sudden summer came, and I was happy again.
Hmm.
So I fought through it for years, and I got to the point where I started getting really bad, because what I realized was that I had been dealing with anxiety and a level of depression like even since I was a kid. But again, like I had no clue what it was. So then as an adult, when I started working, I started going to school. I started to level up in my career and in my education, but I didn't have the foundation. I didn't have the coping skills to deal with the pressure. And so it just took a toll on me. And I remember there was a time in my life where as an adult, I was having panic attacks like once a week.
Hmm.
Like full on, I'd wake up, heart rate 135 beats per minute, sweating, blood pressure was skyrocketed, and I was calling the 911. The ambulance would come out, and they'd be like, "Dude, like we have no clue what's wrong with you." And so I would go to the ER, sit in the ER for hours, and they had no clue what was going on with me. And I remember there was times where like I had such health anxiety at that point that I would drive to the ER and I would park in the parking lot with I would bring my blood pressure cuff,
Hmm.
and I had my Fitbit, and I would just go to the ER to the parking lot, and I would just sit there and wait because I figured that the pattern of like me waking up in the middle of the night and having to call 911, I cut that whole step out and just went straight to the hospital.
Wow. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you said it was health anxiety. Is that what that's what you were thinking about? Was that the trigger, if you will, or what was on your mind? Or did you identify what was on your mind that caused
Mhm.
you those panic attacks? Or did that just happen?
Yeah. It was like a chicken and egg kind of situation, right? It was all the things that I didn't deal with like up to that point in my life.
Hmm.
All the unconscious patterns that I hadn't healed from, I hadn't dealt with, that created the anxiety. Like I had this underlying level of anxiety, but I was a pusher. I could push through things.
Hmm.
And then when I started going to the doctors, knowing like I started getting data. Okay, look, I'm not supposed to have 135 beats per minute like heart rate. and my blood pressure shouldn't be sky high. I don't know why now. I don't know why this is the case. So then without data, we tend to like make up situations. So like, oh, it's my heart. I must have a bad heart.
Mm.
And so then that caused the health anxiety. And then for that point for about 2, 3 years, I wouldn't travel far, like too far from a hospital. So that impacted my relationships, that impacted my ability to travel, it impacted my life because I had to plan vacations around where the hospitals were.
Wow. You were literally bondage. You were in bondage. You were a prisoner
Yeah,
to that anxiety.
absolutely.
Wow. And then as time went on, you started talking about data. When did you realize that, okay, let me let me assess all of this. Like, this is not supposed to be happening. When did you know that it's important? Let me start collecting data, right? And
Yeah,
not just going with the flow and accepting this. When
yeah,
did you
definitely.
start taking some initiative to look into this deeper?
Yeah, so like I said, I was in a period of ER visit, ER visit, ER visit, ER visit. One data point was the amount of money I was spending on these ER visits.
Mm,
And I started to tally up the bills and stuff like that. It was in the thousands.
wow.
Like going to the ER isn't cheap. Getting in the ambulance isn't cheap. And the amount of time, I mean, I would I was in graduate school at the time towards the end, and I kid you not, I had it down so much. I was going into midterms, and I was having a panic attack, and I grabbed my computer, my bag, and I took it to the ER with me. And while I'm waiting for the doctor to come in and see me, I'm in the bed doing homework in the ER.
My.
Like it had become just part of my day. And so there was a period that I reflected back and I was like, this is nuts. This is not the way someone should be living their life.
Right.
Like I'm paying money to the hospitals. They're not telling me any, like I was going to psychologists. They couldn't tell me anything other than you're normal. Like you're just doing what normal people do. And so that's when I started to explore alternative ways of dealing with anxiety and depression, and that's what led me into what I do now.
So, did they try to put you on medicine or medicate you or anything like that?
Mhm. Yeah, so I earlier on when I was probably about 20 or so, my doctor who who didn't want to get to the root of things either, he put me on medication, and I felt like crap.
Mhm.
And I was like, I would rather I would rather I would rather deal with the symptoms of anxiety than deal with the symptoms of the medication because
Wow.
I was a zombie walking around all day,
Yeah,
and I was like, this is not the way one should live their life.
right. So, when you started exploring and you realized, "Hey, this is not the way life's supposed to be," and so did you go to Doctor Google? Did you say you started researching? Did you get on Doctor Google and start exploring there?
Absolutely. So as you read in my bio, I'm a data scientist.
Okay.
So
Yep. Yep.
so
Sorry. Yep.
clearly,
That's right.
clearly I was like, I got to a point and I was like, all right, how do I fix my life? Like I
Yes.
think I actually like typed in something like literal, like how do I like fix my life? And through I did the whole I did meditation, I did there was a period of time where I was going to a Buddhist temple
Mm.
every Thursday and I was doing mindful meditation. And I sat there in front of the what do they call it? The I don't know what they call the guy.
Buddha.
Monk. The
Oh,
monk.
okay. I got you. Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. And we would sit there and if anyone like is dealing with anxiety and they've gone to mindful meditation, you know how difficult that can be. And I remember the guy he used to call it monkey brain. And so you're sitting there and you're like trying to be like mindful, like being present and think of nothing to fix thinking about things all the time, which is like it's kind of a challenge to do.
Yeah.
Um, so I tried that. That didn't work out so well, and I tried ashwagandha. I tried five. What is it? 5-HTP. I tried everything.
Right.
None of it worked. And then I stumbled across neuro linguistics programming, and I started to train in it, and that was the game changer for me because I was able to understand how the mind works. Like it's a model for how the mind works, and there's many different models, but it was the one model that resonated with me. And I had from that point on, I spent the next several years just learning about how the mind works through that model. And then I was able to shift the way that I see the world and see myself.
Right. You know, I want to stop right there and I just want to unpack some stuff because look, this is being broadcasted across the whole country. We real
Yeah.
simple over here in South Carolina. You know what I mean? And as you know, selfish plug, I just wrote the book Mindset and Money Revolution.
Hmm.
To a lot of people, when we start talking about mindset, it's like they're okay, mindset. Yeah, he's talking goobly guy. But here's the truth: battles are won and lost in your mind. I think
Absolutely.
that is completely true.
Absolutely.
And so we're talking about this because here's the deal: you made a choice, you made a decision that this is not right. I'm going to take control and at least make an effort to see, hey, what's going on here? Why am I experiencing this?
Yep.
So the thing that you did is you took control. All right. And I want to say, you know, hats off to you for doing that because a lot of people, they just accept. Tim Story says, you sit in your setback.
Yep.
And when you sit in that setback, you will settle in that setback. And then if you settle in that setback, you will end up being cemented in the setback. And then when you are totally settled, cemented in the setback, what does that do? That creates learned behavior
Hmm.
and habits that are passed down from generation to generation. But you said enough is enough. Let me do something about this. Let me get in the game and see what I can figure out here. So you
Yep.
took the initiative. And that's what, during this mid part of the podcast, I want you to do that. Don't just accept that that's normal. People say it all the time. I've never really said it, but I agree with it. Nobody's coming to rescue you.
Mm-mm.
You have to take control, collect what's going on, and now let's just start stepping forward. We might step in the wrong direction, but at least we're stepping,
Yep.
right? So kudos for you in doing that. So you stumbled across different things, right? You didn't lose, you learned. That
Yep.
didn't work, so let me do something else. That
Yep.
didn't work, so let me do something else. And then you found NLP, and it
Yep.
really helped you.
Yep.
And so carry on. You continue to study
Yeah.
about that.
I love everything that you just said because like it's so important for people to understand that you have a choice. There's so many people that they feel like they're broken. You hear people say all the time, "Oh, I just need to fix myself," which implies that they're broken. But there's no one broken. Like I have like I'm whole. Like I have all my parts. Like like I'm
Mhm.
not broken. It's just a mindset. It's a mindset pattern that we get into. That's stuck. Being stuck is just going over the same patterns over and over and over and over again. So it turns out that 90% of what we do every day is unconscious. Meaning that so what are you right-handed or left-handed, chat?
Right-handed.
Right-handed. So when you woke up this morning, you brush your teeth, you probably use your right hand.
Correct.
Now if I said for the next week, I want you to brush your teeth with your left hand, right? you would probably have a challenge.
Right.
You
Yep.
go in there and you try to brush your teeth with your left hand, and you'd be like, "Man, this is weird." And then you at some point you probably switch over to your right hand. I tried this. I tried this for about a week or so. I
Yeah,
was like,
my
"I'm gonna
gum,
change this
my
habit."
gums would be bleeding and all that stuff because I wouldn't, I'd be jabbing stuff. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And so that's how people live their life.
Mm.
So that thought that you tell yourself over and over and over again, that's disempowering. It's just like brushing your teeth. Your mind has optimized around that thought. And so when we go and change something, that's when it gets tough. When we try to just will our way through something. Like if we go from sitting on the couch to running a half marathon the next day, your body's gonna talk back to you. It's gonna say,
Mhm.
"Hey, I like, we on a 2,500 calorie diet right now. Like we need to calm down."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it'll start talking back to us. When you want to go and start that business, that's when the self-doubt comes in. That's when the imposter syndrome comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to change the programming, and that's all it is. Every single one of you has internal programming. And the cool part is that you can change that programming. Like just what is it? Coach Burt, flip the switch.
Flip the switch. Yep.
So when I hear flip the switch, I just like you can get up, you can make the decision because as you said, Chad, so we have our conscious portion of our brain, which is 10% of what we do, and we have our unconscious portion of our brain, which is 90%. The conscious portion of our brain, that's the goal setter. I'm going to get out of depression and anxiety. I'm going to consciously make that decision. The unconscious mind says is the goal getter, and it goes, okay, let's go do it. Now, in order to do that, we have to change the programming. I tell people all the time, it's like, so what do you give a 600-pound gorilla? Have you heard this before?
I have not. Please tell me.
So you give a 600-pound gorilla whatever it
What
wants,
was going? That's good. I was going to be funny, but yeah, okay, that's truth. So we just,
right?
yeah, that's right.
So your unconscious mind is a 600-pound gorilla,
Oh wow.
right? So if you feed it things that are disempowering, what do you think you're going to get? Is you can't wrestle with it. So, and I'm gonna call some people out right now,
Call them out,
right?
call them out.
So January 1st is coming up,
Mm,
and I'm gonna see the posts.
yes,
New year, new me,
absolutely.
fit fam, right?
Hashtag
Right?
2025.
Let's go.
Yep.
All those resolutions that you made for the last 10 years, they didn't work out because I think it's like, what is it? So when people join gyms, I want to say it's 2 or 3 weeks. Within 2 or 3 weeks, 80% of them stop going.
Yeah.
It's great for gyms
Yes.
because those people they keep paying the subscriptions every single month, thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go,"
Right.
because they set the goal, but they still have the habits that aren't supporting what they want. And so it's so key. It's so key to understand that we have the capacity, we have the ability to get the results that we want by changing our internal programming. That's all it is.
So, all right. Again, simple over here, right on the East Coast. Um, you're going to get on to me for saying that too. I know you are. Like, why? What you're putting yourself in a position when you hear programming. See, this is all foreign to a lot of people,
Yeah.
right? So people have a choice to just say that's too complex. That's for
Mhm.
people on the West Coast. That's for other people. That's not for me. My life, I'm playing the hands that I'm dealt. And you
Yeah.
can play the hands that you're dealt, but guess what? You have control on how you play it.
Yeah.
So when you refuse to find out more about this and
Mm,
do something about it, or just assume that that's not for me, then you're, you know what? I'm going to be bold. You're assuming that the greatness that's inside of you is not worthy enough to come out.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
And
wouldn't you say this too? I had this wrote down. I think God is interested in you winning through
yes.
him, because
Yeah.
guess what that does? That gives all the glory to him. So if
Absolutely.
you don't think that your greatness is worthy, that's pretty much, you're doing a disservice and you're robbing the world
Yep.
from you becoming your best self, and your best self for the people that you claim that you love.
Yep. Yep. Genesis 3 onwards. The serpent, he came into the garden, and he convinced Adam and Eve to focus on what they didn't have.
Mm,
The reality is that they had everything. They had an abundance. God said that you can eat from every tree that you can see except for this one tree. But the serpent came in and said, "Hey, I need you to focus on that one tree that God commanded you not to eat of." And so from that point onwards, that's what the world does to people. Is it just distracts and makes people focus on what they don't have versus what they do have, which is that inherent relationship that they have with God. And through Jesus, you can do anything.
that's right.
So if you are out there and you're not living up to your God giving potential, then you're not glorifying God. You're glorifying the enemy. Because the enemy is he's the one that's going to tell you that you should have self-doubt, that you can't do it, all these things. Those aren't things of God. God is going to always tell you that you can do it. Because when you show up as a testimony of, like me, for instance, my story isn't my story. My story of going from having depression and anxiety isn't my story. I'm able to tell my testimony so that I can say, God got me through that this entire time.
That's
That's
right.
glorifying God.
Yep.
And so everyone has their unique story that they have a responsibility to play full out so that they can turn around and say, glory to God.
That's right. And the devil and the enemy is scared to death of us realizing what our purpose is and our potential,
Mhm.
that God-given talent. So
Yep.
I tell people, if he can't make you bad, he'll make you busy.
Yep.
And that's busy consumed
Mhm.
with confusion and all that. He's the author of confusion, right?
Yep.
And so,
Exactly.
man, I tell you, I got to bring attention to this too, because, you know, I just love, I mean, this has been so good, right? Your stock just continues to go up, right? It's not capped with me. Um, I've seen even more of a transformation in your life, Ro, here and just recently, from when we met and we went to that Mexican restaurant you took me to, where you really had to speak Spanish to go to that restaurant, right? I knew some of the language, but I put I need a taco and a burrito and
Yeah. Oh,
enchilado and all that.
oh.
Oh, please, oh, and
There's
but
a couple ahs too. You got to put some ahs in every now and
yeah,
then
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. But we talked, and we were talking about different things revolving faith. We talked about different faiths. Let's just call it
Yeah.
religion, right?
Yeah.
Um, religions. But you know, it's all about a relationship with Jesus.
Absolutely.
And I have
Absolutely.
seen, I'm going to let you tell it, but I have seen God put his super on your natural, and I can
Yeah.
just see the beaming light out of you now. So
Yeah. Definitely.
tell us just a little
Um,
bit about that. I think that did nothing but make your foundation that much stronger.
yeah. So I want to touch briefly on something that you said earlier, and so I want to surmise something and and break down like what I was saying earlier about the internal programming.
Yes.
So aside from calling it like internal programming, here's how I see it. They're lies. People tell themselves lies every day for various different reasons. One of the biggest reasons that I've seen is because they don't want to take personal responsibility for their life. They want to put their responsibility for their life in someone or something else. So they believe the lie. And as you know, the devil is the father of lies.
Mm-hmm.
And so people will come into agreement with the enemy, and their actions they show it. So if someone is fearful of starting that business, or if they're fearful of getting in shape or eating right, or fearful of being, dedicated in the relationship, is because they've come into agreement with the enemy. And so when you look at the things that are holding you back, like if you know that there's something that's holding you back, is because you've come into an agreement with a lie. In the world, the enemy, something has put that lie into your mind and has locked in. And so as it translates to the difference that you've seen about me is kind of coming full circle, is there's a lie that I believed all my life. Well, there's several lies that I've believed all my life. I believe that I was a shy kid. I believe that no one wanted to hear what I had to say. I believe that I was a background person. I believe that I wasn't worthy. I believe that I didn't have value. I believe I didn't have confidence. I believe all these things. And so I showed up in the world as the support system. I want to prop up the other guys. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And so the transformation that I had is like, as I've gone through all these different healing opportunities, I realized that I was just lying to myself. I was believing the lies about myself.
Mm.
And so as I started to just tear apart those lies one after another, then the true me showed up. The God created me showed up.
Wow.
And now I can show up in his image, as he says. We're all made in his image. And if I'm made in his image, I can't show up and believe these lies that are contradicting to it. And so that's my new calling. I like, as of just even a few days ago, I was working with entrepreneurs. I was like, I want to help you like level up your business, go from 6 figures to 7 figures. And every time I would talk to these entrepreneurs, the one commonality amongst like 99% of them is that they were lacking in their spirituality.
Wow.
They were running their business, and they just didn't know why they were doing it. There was just no purpose behind it.
No purpose.
They were like, and I'll tell you that for a lot of them, it was they either grew up poor, and they figured that they need to go make money because they never want to be that way again. And that's what we call a pushing away from pain motivation. Now, when you can change it and you're motivated towards pleasure, meaning that you want to be a Christian based entrepreneur, and you know that every single dollar that you make in your business is gonna, it's going to invest into God's kingdom. You now wake up every single day motivated to run your business. And that has been the calling that I've had just as of the last week.
Wow.
Complete shift. Like I'm in the process right now of like rebranding and retooling my business for that purpose. That's the purpose that God gave me.
I love
He
it.
says, I brought you through all of this. You got the skills, you have the experience. Now I need you to go and serve my people.
Wow.
I need to put you into the corporate world, and I need you to spread the word into that world.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
I just been lit up, man. I've been lit up about spreading the word. I've been lit up about helping people find their God-given identity And I've been lit up about just helping them like dismantle the lies that they've been telling themselves for their whole life.
That is so strong. As we wrap up, I gotta repeat what you just said, if I can say it the way you said it. Any Christian that is listening to this podcast and they hear you say that you peeled back the layers and the onions to the true identity of who God created you to be in his own image, you cannot show up believing lies. You then are a fake. And you're either going to be obedient and step into who he called you to be. You might not know. See, that's what when people say purpose, they think of the destination, an occupation, or whatever. It's not a destination. It's a direction of daily surrendering and being who God seeking to be who God called you to be. Then the purpose that the world identifies, I believe that will find you. You'll find your place, and it might change, but where he wants to use you, in what manner he wants to use you. But purpose is to be Christ-like, and purpose is to walk out your faith being who he created you to be. Now look, you can't argue with that. If I had I can't drop this mic because you know what I mean. I can knock it over, but you can't argue with that, man. That's strong. What you drop bombs. You drop the bombs. You know, Bradley has that. That was the biggest bomb that you dropped right there, and that is when you got down to who you really are. You realize you can't show up with those lies and that mindset.
Mm-mm.
I love it. I
No,
love it, Ro.
if I could, people, so people that are dealing with anxiety, with self doubt, with depression, you got to look at it this way. If you have high faith, if you got level 10 faith, you can't have level 10 anxiety. You can't have level 10 self doubt. You can't have level 10 depression. What happens is as faith goes down, these things go up. And as your faith goes up, these things go down. And so there's Christians out there that are across the board. You know, they're like a 7, but they're still battling with these agreements. And the fix is you have to increase your faith. Just like Peter when he walked out on the water. What happened when he lost his faith?
Yeah, started to sink.
He took a dip.
Yeah, sure did.
And that's how people show up in life.
Mm.
They go out there, they go out there with that level 10 faith energy, but then things get tough and then they start to sink. And so we gotta look at it from a perspective of, if you have faith in what the Bible says, if you have faith in what God's word says, that you are made in his image, then nothing can take you down.
Wow.
Nothing.
That's huge. Well, listen, man, we're going to wrap this up. It has been a phenomenal podcast. I've enjoyed talking to you. I've enjoyed just chatting it up. I hope and pray that our listeners get something out of this. We're actually going to have your information on some of our links on how people can get in touch with you. And I know your heart, man. I know you really want to help people. And I'm put my name on Ro. I put my name on him because you can't fake who he is. And he is genuine. He truly has a heart for people. And maybe you find yourself stuck. Maybe you feel like, man, I just can't get ahead. I just can't get ahead. Guess what? You can't if you continue to say that. So if you take action and realize that it's not how, sometimes it's who. And I will tell you, Ro would be a great who for you to reach out to. Ro, thank you
I
so
appreciate
much,
that.
man, for
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
yes, sir.